President Trump signed his first executive order in January to temporarily ban refugees and people from 7 majority Muslim nations. He said it was needed in part to protect women. A little notice part of the executive order reads, quote, "The United States should not admit those who engage in acts of bigotry or hatred, including honor killings, other forms of violence against women," unquote. Some observers have noticed the irony in the executive order. Both the man who signed the order, Donald Trump, and the man who drafted the order, his chief strategist, Steve Bannon, have in the past been accused of committing violence against women. During the presidential campaign, Trump famously boasted about sexually assaulting women and grabbing them, quote, "by the pussy," unquote, in a leaked video recorded by NBC's Access Hollywood. 8 women have now come forward and accused Donald Trump of sexual assault and harassment. In the 80s, Trump's ex-wife, Ivana, said during a divorce deposition that Donald had raped her. The author, Harry Hurt, described Trump holding back Ivana's arms, pulling out fistfuls of her hair, then forcing her to have sex. Ivana Trump later softened her language to say she felt violated by what happened. Meanwhile, Steve Bannon was charged with domestic violence and battery in 1996. A Santa Monica, California police report said Bannon grabbed his then-wife, Mary Louise Picard, quote, "by the throat and arm," and threatened to leave with the couple's twin daughters. Bannon pleaded not guilty to the charges, which were dropped when Picard did not appear in court. Picard claimed in divorce proceedings that Bannon pressured her not to testify. And Trump and Bannon are not alone. Trump's first pick to be Labor Secretary, fast food giant CEO Andrew Puzder, was accused of domestic abuse by his ex-wife, who even went on Oprah in disguise to speak about domestic violence.
The most frightening thing was leaving, because once I made that break and once I made it public, and remember, my ex-husband was a public figure. Everyone knew him and knew what he was doing. And once I made that public, he vowed revenge. He said, "I will see you in the gutter. This will never be over. You will pay for this." I wound up losing everything.
Puzder's ex-wife later withdrew the allegations as part of a 1990 child custody agreement, but the abuse claims and the Oprah video helped lead to Puzder withdrawing his nomination last month. Meanwhile, advocates of domestic abuse victims have expressed alarm over the confirmation of Jeff Sessions as Attorney General. In 2013, he voted against the reauthorization of the Violence Against Women Act, a law which he will now be responsible for enforcing. Tom Price, the new Secretary of Health and Human Services, also voted against the law's reauthorization. There are also reports the Trump administration may eliminate programs that aim to reduce domestic violence and sexual assault. Well, I recently sat down with 2 pioneers who have spent decades fighting domestic abuse, Eve Ensler, the playwright, author of the Vagina Monologues, and Christine Schuler Deschryver, director of V-Day Congo. I began by asking Eve Ensler to talk about Donald Trump.
Yes, and I think I've been feeling this for over 2 years, that, you know, watching Trump and watching the people Trump surrounds himself with, we are seeing the escalation of rape culture, a predatory mindset in many respects, but I'll particularly address towards women. I think from the very beginning, listening to Trump and listening, how was it possible that a nation of people felt okay with electing a self-confessed sexual assaulter? How is it possible we feel okay with Bannon, who seems to be running the show right now, who is known to have beaten his wife, right? If we look at that as something that's acceptable, right, in a general way, then we understand we haven't really gotten to the root of rape culture in America, right? But I also think that predatory mindset is affecting everything, right? We're gutting regulations on air, on water, on the earth. We're escalating extraction. We're seeing the ransacking of laws, of disparaging of immigrants, and this is all part of a predatory mindset, which is really about one person in power who does what he wants without the consent, right, of the people around him, which is exactly what rape culture is. You seize people's bodies, you take them against their will, and you do whatever you want to them.
Christine Schuler Deschryver, you're coming here from the Congo. How much attention is being paid to the Trump administration in Congo, and your thoughts when you come here?
We are really following what's going on in the U.S., and I have to say we are very shocked. First of all, I remember like weeks ago we were talking about what about if Trump was a black president who had like three wives, who the kind of guy that he is. I think things would have been totally different. And today we are talking about the U.S. as it should be a model. But right now, it's like Eve just said, it's like a rape culture is back, and we are really worried. Also the impunity, and it will affect all of us. I think this has to change. And when we were talking, we felt like we also have to march in Congo to stop all this.
It's interesting you talking about impunity. The women who've come forward and said that Donald Trump sexually assaulted them, Trump's response, saying they weren't telling the truth, was as soon as the election was over, he would sue them. We haven't heard anything about these suits.
Well, it's the tactic of the perpetrator, right? Like you always make you're the victim, right? You take it, you reverse it. It's a mind game, right? You'll sue the people you've already attacked. It's sort of like
but of course he hasn't, because that would mean discovery and information.
But it's kind of a mindset too. It's like we bomb Iraqis and we destroy people in the countries around the world, and then we refuse to give them admission and safety. So it's this double thing, right? Not only are you destroying people's lives, but then you're refusing them safety and refuge after you've destroyed them. And that's the same thing as like after I rape you or after I harass you, I sue you, right? That way it takes all the attention off the act that I've done, or even the threat of that, you know? And I also want to say in terms of the Congo, I mean, we'll get into it, but in the course of all these kind of things that he's attempting to deregulate for the benefit of corporations, you know, now there is a leaked memo saying that would free the U.S. companies to buy conflict minerals from Central African warlords, which is something we have been fighting and fighting and fighting to get these regulations on these conflict minerals. And if they're freed again, we will see the escalation of rape in ways that we knew 5 and 10 years ago.
Can you talk more about this, Christine? It's just now we're seeing some reports in The Guardian, The Intercept, about the possibility of Trump signing an executive order that would deregulate conflict minerals.
You know, it brings us like 20 years before, and it really legitimate all the perpetrators, and also the rape. So it will strengthen, you know, like all the dictators we have in Central Africa, because now they will feel free to plunder Congo with all the multinationals, and I think that the violence will escalate much more, and the last 3-4 years, it started, you know, to go down. But now, I think all the dictator will be like so comfortable to continue to plunder the Congo with the international community.
And I think what's connected to that is we know where there is plundering of mines, you know, where multinationals come in and use proxy militias in the same way that the oil companies are using state violence in Standing Rock. We know women are always on the front lines of those struggles, and women suffer sexual violence. I was in the Bakken oil fields, for example, where I was there with, you know, Winona LaDuke.
Of North Dakota. Where the fracked oil will come from that goes through the pipeline if it's ever completed.
And the man camps that were set up there, the rate of sexual violence that had escalated there was mind-blowing. Well, this is the same situation in the Congo. Once these corporations make deals with warlords, right? The warlords are licensed, and the way they get into these villages is the way they get access to these mines is they rape and they destroy women in these communities, they break apart the communities, and then they move in to take the mines. So Trump is not only leashing rape culture in this culture, he is unleashing it in Africa by you know, destroying these conflict mineral protections. And to me, that is very terrifying.
Let's go for a moment to a few clips. I want to go back to what was called the October surprise from last year's presidential campaign. Donald Trump, well, taking a hit, and several Republican lawmakers distancing themselves from his campaign following the release of this 2005 videotape showing Trump boasting about sexually assaulting women.
She's your girl's hot in the purple.
Whoa.
Yes.
Whoa.
Yes, the Donald has scored.
Whoa.
Oh, my man. Wait, you gotta look at me when you get out. Like,
set this up.
That is very.
You give me the thumbs
Look
up.
at you. You are a
You gotta put the thumbs up. You gotta get the thumbs up. Can't be too happy.
First? Yeah, let me.
It's very
You
fun.
gotta give me the thumbs up.
You and I will walk down.
Oh my God.
Maybe it's a different one.
Better not be the publicist. No, it's her.
Yeah, that's her, with the gold. I better use some Tic Tacs just in case I start kissing her. You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the pussy. I can do anything.
Look at those legs. All I can see is the legs.
No, it looks good.
Come on, shorty.
Oh, nice legs, huh?
Oof, get out of the way, honey. Oh, that's good legs. Go ahead.
It's always good if you don't fall out of the bus. Like Ford, Gerald Ford, remember?
Down below. Pull the hand.
Hello, how are you? Hi.
Trump, how
nice
are
seeing
you?
you. Terrific.
Pleasure to meet you.
Terrific. You know Billy Bush?
How are you?
Nice to see you. How you doing, Ariane?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Are you ready to be a soap star?
We're ready. Let's go. Make me a soap star.
How about a little hug for the Donald? He just got off the
Would you
bus.
like a little hug,
Okay,
darling?
absolutely. Melania said this was okay.
So those are the words of the now president of the United States, Donald Trump. The only one who went down over that whole episode, Washington Post releasing the videotape, was Billy Bush, the person who was with him at that time from Entertainment Television. Eve.
Well, to me, you know, it was so alarming to me, having worked all these years, to get an idea of what rape is and what sexual assault is and what it means for women to have agency over their own bodies, and to see not only a president who arrogantly just grabbed women and felt he had access to women, but also to see Republicans and to see so many people around him normalize that so quickly. I mean, that story was in the news for maybe 2 weeks before it was normalized, before it was accepted. Okay, that's just what men do, right? And even the talk of, you know, this is locker room talk. Remember that whole period. Whose locker room? Like, which locker room are you in? Like, I know a lot of men who don't talk that way in locker rooms, but the locker rooms you're in, they're having this kind of... And
it's interesting. I saw a poster. Actually, it was a waitress who carries a towel with her that she wrote on so that she can protest anywhere she wants to. She balls it up and puts it in her bag, and it says, "The world is not your locker room."
Yes, yes. And I think if we look at... Okay, let's take the Women's March, which was an unbelievable outpouring of women demanding, speaking up for, and cherishing and knowing what their rights are. What did he do a day later? He destroyed reproductive rights and the support of NGOs who were even offering a discussion about abortion around the world. That was his cynical, violent response to 5 million women and men rising around the world. And that is rape culture. That in itself was an act of rape. It was like, really? You think you're going to have power? You think you're going to stay? Watch what I'm going to do the next day. I feel like so many of these executive, whatever we're calling them, orders, as you said, tweets, you know, moments of dementia, are all these kind of violent acts that are saying, in no uncertain terms, I do what I want, regardless of your needs, regardless of what you want in your body, in your life, and I'm going to continue to do that in any way I want.
And Christine, what does this mean in the Congo when we're talking about issues of rape?
You know, for me, I want to compare it, like, for example, when you talk, it's like they have access to women, you know, as a thing, the way they have access to the earth, to the land. And maybe we, you know, we also followed in Congo, you know, all the grassroots women who march for the Standing Rock. And I think it's exactly the same in Congo, because the way they rape women, that's the way they rape the earth. Also in Dakota, when we see all the pipelines, you know, like raping the land, and we cannot dissociate that. That's also one of the reasons I think all the grassroots women from all over the world, they have to be leaders. and also to protect Mother Nature, because we cannot dissociate both of them. At City of Joy, for example,
And explain what City of Joy is.
City of Joy, it's a place where we receive 90 young women to heal their bodies and minds, and we train them to be the leaders.
They've all been raped?
Most of them, yes, but they have survivors of gender violence. But most of them, I have to say, they were raped by militias, by the police, by domestic rape, and they're all survivors of atrocities. And they stay there. It's in Bukavu, in eastern of Democratic Republic of Congo, and they stay there for 6 months. So the program is transform their pain to power, and after some of them they go, because we also have a farm, to transform pain to planting. So they work at the farm. So we also, we live with Mother Nature, and we give back to Mother Nature. For example, they learn how to make compost, and I think City of Joy has to be an example for the whole world, because right now I think the women, like the grassroots women, are the one who paid the most for everything that happened. Look at Dakota, look in Congo, everywhere.
Christine Schuler Deschryver, director of V-Day Congo and the City of Joy, and Eve Ensler, playwright, author of Vagina Monologues. Eve Ensler is heading to Washington right now on the train for a Women Workers Rising protest this afternoon outside the Department of Labor, where hundreds of women plan to surround the building demanding an end to workplace violence.